welcome to Friday's Kitchen. Welcome back if you have been here before. In today's video, we are making this beautiful and delicious cookies and cream cheese pound cake. If you're interested in seeing how I made it, stay tuned. Also, while you're here, please take a moment, look down below, press that red subscribe button, join the family, and come back for some more recipes. Here we have our ingredients for the cake. Up first, we have 3 cups of cake flour, 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, 3 cups of granulated sugar, 6 eggs at room temperature. We have 3 sticks of unsalted butter at room temperature, an 8-ounce package of cream cheese at room temperature. We'll be using about 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. Here we have 20 Oreo thins that have been crushed. We are going to start by preheating the oven to 300 degrees. We're going to start by adding the 3 sticks of butter and cream cheese to the mixer. Once we have that inside, we're going to turn the mixer on and mix until well combined. Now we're going to slowly add the 3 cups of granulated sugar to the mixture. We're going to mix until we have that blended well. Once I add the sugar to the mixture, I typically let the mixer run anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes. You just want to give the sugar crystals a chance to break down fully. You'll see that the mixture will start to lighten in color, and that's when you know you're pretty much done. Now we're going to go in and add the vanilla extract to the mixture. At this point, we're going to turn the mixer off and scrape down the sides of the bowl. We're going to do this step before we move on to adding the eggs. Now we're going to go in and add our eggs one at a time. Once I add an egg, I wait until the yolk has broken and it started to mix in a bit before adding the next. Sometimes 2 eggs will fall in at one time, and that's perfectly fine. You just make sure you mix a little longer to make sure it's blended in well. Now that we have added all the eggs, we're going to turn off the mixer once again to scrape down the sides of the bowl before we begin to add our flour mixture. Okay, so here I am going in with half of the flour mixture. Once I add that, I'm going to turn the mixer on and mix that in a bit before adding the rest of the flour. Now that everything is well combined, we're going to turn the mixer off and scrape down the sides of the bowl once again, just to make sure that we catch anything that may be stuck on the bottom of the bowl or the sides. Okay, so now we're going to turn the mixer back on, give it one final mix before adding our crumbled Oreos to the mixture. Once I add the Oreos, I'm going to mix it on low. I don't want to over mix it once I've done that. I don't want to break down the Oreos any more than they already are. So you'll see I'll begin to add them, and I have the mixer on at a low speed. I'm going to mix just long enough to make sure that the Oreos are well combined. All right, so our cake batter is done. This is the Oreo cream cheese pound cake. I'm going to put a little bit on the spatula, bring it up a little closer so you can get a close-up shot of what it looks like. Now that the cake batter is done, we have our bundt pan, and I'm going to go through and lightly spray with Baker's Joy. Again, we have preheated our oven to 300 degrees. So here I am going in and adding the cake batter to the pan. Once we put this cake in the oven, it will bake for a total of 1 hour and 30 minutes. Once I take it out, if it appears to need more time at that point, then I'll just add a little more to it. But typically, a cake that doesn't have like any fruit or anything added to it, 1.5 hours is typically enough time to make sure that it gets done. So yeah, once I add all the batter to the pan, I'm going to give it a few taps to help release any air that may be trapped inside, and then we're going to add it to the oven. Now that the cake is in the oven, we're going to move on to making the buttercream icing. Here we have 2.5 cups of powdered sugar. We have 3/4 of a stick of Crisco, 1/2 stick of unsalted butter. Here we have 5 Oreo thins without the cream that have been placed in the food processor. And here we have about 1/2 cup of heavy cream. I will not be using all of that. I'll be saving some of that for the actual glaze. And we'll be using about 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're going to start by adding the butter and the Crisco to the mixer, and then we're going to turn the mixer on and get that a little combined. All right, so now we're going to stop the mixer and scrape down the sides of the bowl. I'm actually going to have to do this quite a bit while making this icing because it's not a full batch of icing, it's half of a batch. That said, the bowl's not full, and so it's a little more difficult to make sure that everything gets mixed in well. So you'll see me stop a couple times, scrape down the sides of the bowl, and then turn the mixer back on. So here I am going in and I'm adding the powdered sugar to the mixture. I am going to turn the mixer back on for just a few before adding the vanilla extract. There we go with the extract. We're going to mix this a little longer, and then we're going to start to add some heavy cream to the mixture. I ended up using about 1/4 cup of heavy cream in this. If you decide to make this recipe, you can kind of eye it. If you want it a little looser than mine, you can add a little more. If you want it a little thicker than mine, you can add a little less. It's completely up to you and what your preference is. But we're going to mix this in, and again, you will see me go in, turn the mixer off, and scrape down the sides of the bowl once again. All right, so now that we have once again scraped down the sides of the bowl and everything is well combined, we're going to go in and we're going to add the crushed Oreos to the mixture. All right, so the icing is all done. There you see a glimpse of what it looks like close up. So we're going to go ahead, put this in a piping bag and set it to the side. In the next clip, we will be making the glaze. So here we have the ingredients for the glaze. Up first, we have 1 cup of powdered sugar. We'll be trying to use about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then here we have a couple tablespoons of heavy cream. So I'm going to start by putting a splash of the extract into the powdered sugar. Then we're going to go in with a little of the heavy cream. And then we're going to mix just to check the consistency. If I feel like it's a little thicker, which I did, I'll go in and I will add the rest of the heavy cream. It was still on the thicker side to me, so I did go in and add just a splash more of the heavy cream. This is all preference. If you prefer your glaze be thicker, you can add less liquid. If you prefer it be thinner, you can add more. Again, completely up to you. It's going to taste good either way. All right, so we have our icing out of the way. We have finished our glaze. So this is just a quick shot of what the cake looked like as soon as I took it out of the oven. Again, it baked for 1 hour, 30 minutes, and that was just enough time. So we're gonna set this aside and cool for about 15 minutes, and then we will remove it from the pan. So here's the cake once we removed it from the pan. There was no sticking and it looks really, really good. You can see that the cookies are evenly distributed because it's all throughout the cake. We're going to set the cake aside for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours to fully cool, and then we will be back to decorate. Okay, y'all, so it was at this moment that I realized I messed up. I decorated the entire top of the cake and I was not recording. Oh, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to go through and try to explain as best as I can what I did. So the first thing I did was go through and pipe the rosettes, I guess is what you could call them, on top of the cake. I did that using the buttercream icing, and I did it all around the top of the cake. They were touching, that's just how close they were. Once I finished the piping, I went in and I poured the glaze on top. So the glaze is on top of what I piped on with the icing, and you can see that it drizzled down either side of the cake. Next, I went in with some more crushed Oreos. So I crushed some more Oreos and then I sprinkled on top. Once I did that, I went in and I placed some Oreo thins in between each of the areas where I piped the icing onto the cake. I hope that makes sense. It wasn't difficult. Again, I just piped the icing onto the cake, poured the glaze on top, sprinkled some crushed Oreos, and then I went in and I placed the Oreo thins in between where I piped the icing. So up next, I realized I wasn't recording previously, and then I turned the camera back on. So at that point, you will see me piping the border on the base of the cake. Okay, so here I am piping the border on the base of the cake. I am just going around and piping shells. Now I am going in with yet some more crushed Oreos, and I'm going to sprinkle some around the base of the cake where I piped the border. So I'm just adding some on top of the icing that I just piped onto the cake. This is, I have to check and I'll put on the screen the size package of Oreo thins that I used, but I did end up using pretty much all with the exception of maybe 10 to 12 cookies. All right, guys, so here we have our finished product, our cookies and cream cheese pound cake. Again, I would like to sincerely apologize for the missing clips. I really don't know how I did that, but I hope that I was able to explain it in a way that you guys will be able to understand what I did. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I would like to thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section, and I will be sure to get back with you. While you're here, I hope you take a moment to look down below, press that red subscribe button, join the family, come back for some more recipes. Again, I would like to thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.